Welcome to another Inside with IAIS. My name's Griffin, and today, fish weirs. So, it's actually been a little bit since I've done one of these videos, but one of the earlier videos that I've done was about hand fishing. Hand fishing is generally going to be a type of fishing that people are going to do in this area in smaller bodies of water. But today we're going to be talking about a way of collecting and harvesting fish from larger waterways. A lot of times when you are dealing with larger waterways, A, you're going to have deeper water, B, you're going to have a larger quantity of fish, but it also unlocks a lot of migration fish. Fish that will make their way upstream or downstream depending on the time of year for spawning. So another difference between the fish houses that we've talked about earlier and weirs is weirs are, unlike the fish houses, not a place for fish to stay. A weir is like a dam that forces the fish between a little choke point in order to make it easier to catch them in high numbers. When fish migrate upstream, in the case of like shad or salmon, or migrate downstream, in the case of something like eels, in this area of Connecticut, we'll get all three of those, funneling them through specific channels using almost like a dam is a good way to concentrate their numbers so they're easier to harvest. Weirs can be found in a lot of not just streams and rivers in Connecticut, but in places around the world. Often what ends up happening, you end up finding weirs that are built off of anchor stones, which are large stones which in the river or stream do not move very often, even when the water level gets very high. This keeps them in place over many, many, many years. And by building piles of stones along those areas, it makes it so there's less effort that needs to be done when you end up wanting to repair a weir. You won't also just see them as stones, although you will see some that are just stones. But even today, when you find remnants of old weirs, you have to imagine that they're not just the rocks a lot of times. They're also almost like a wooden fence or the edge of a basket woven across to allow water flow through, but not allow large fish through. So this weir that I've constructed here as a very quick example, did in about a day, a very exhausting day, but did in about a day, and we have had 2 rainstorms since I first started this. Before we had the rainstorm, all the way across, rocks were out of the water with a couple of gaps. Now those rocks create a really good base to be able to put in smaller sticks or poles with which to create either a woven pole or stick structure on top, or almost a series of baskets you could put in order to collect fish as they came up and down. You may also have people that would have positioned themselves at the choke points and harvested, and this could include entire communities if you get a very big body of water that would come together to harvest that food resource to dry and save for later times when there's less availability of that type of food. While this one visually is just stone, you can have them also be just sticks and just weaves, or also just stones. So I have here another example of a weir. This weir is a little bit different because this is a style of weir that you're more likely to see towards the coast, by tidal areas, areas where the water comes in and then the water goes back out. This weir here is you create a choke point that the fish go through while the water goes in, and then as the water comes out, the water can still go through a lot of areas where the sticks are and the stones are, but the larger fish are actually going to end up stuck in there. In areas that are tidal, this is actually awesome, because that means that any of those larger fish get stuck in the water. Because the choke point is so narrow, finding your way out, as you check the edge, it'll spin you back in, and even though some fish will figure out how to get out, others will just end up stuck in there. This style of fishing weir is also another one that you find around the world, not just in this area. So keep your eyes out for different types of stone formations like this that are around areas that are tidal. Thanks for joining me down by the river today. If you have any more interest in any of the things we talked about today, feel free to visit us at the Institute for American Indian Studies in person or visit us online. We're constantly getting up to new types of programming and with new videos online every once in a while. And if you like some of the programming or videos that you see, feel free to donate as well.